Hi, I'm Jim Luckett of SailboatsToGo, and this little video is about our rudder mount for inflatable dinghies. This is the rudder mount, and if you've got, let's say, an Intex Mariner 4 or Intex Mariner 3, or maybe a Hydroforce Marine Pro or an Ozark Trail Marine Pro or an Intex Seahawk 4, and you have chosen the conventional rudder steering instead of the usual, our usual is steering oar steering, then you will get a rudder mount like this that you bolt to the back of your dinghy. And these bolts here go into the motor mount fittings of your dinghy. They have a large washer that goes underneath the motor mount fitting. It goes on the bottom, then the bolt goes up through that, through the motor mount fitting, through this crossbar, and then you put the star knob on top and that bolts it onto the boat. But that's not enough attachment. The rudder mount would have a tendency to flop forward like that with the strain from the rudder if we didn't do something additional. So on the Mariner 3 and Mariner 4, there's a stern handle down low on the transom. The transom is the back of your boat. On the outside, in the middle, down low, is a stern handle. And we have got a hole in the bottom of the rudder mount vertical piece. And we give you a short strap, and you just go through that stern handle and you strap it down to the stern handle, and that holds this rudder mount vertical and keeps it from flopping forward. Now, what do we do if a boat does not have a stern handle or any other fitting down low in the middle on the rear of the boat on the outside? Well, then we put a right angle piece on top that will prevent it from flopping forward. This is that right angle piece. If your boat needs it, then we're going to send this to you. And this keeps it from flopping forward because this piece rests on the rear air chamber of your boat, and it couldn't flop forward without pushing onto that rear air chamber, and that would stop it. So let me show you how you install this so it stays. The top eye of the rudder mount is held on with a star knob. Unscrew the top eye from the star knob. Don't lose the washer that goes underneath the star knob. Now we slide this on. See, the eyes are pointing one way and the horizontal piece of the top L is pointing the other way. And there's a hole that lines up so that we can put the top eye back in place. And now that top piece is secured. So it'll be shipped to you with the top piece not installed, and you'll install it. And then each time you pack up the boat, you will probably want to remove it again because it will fit into the bag more easily if you do. You're only going to get a top piece if your boat needs it, if your boat does not have a stern handle. So that's the whole story about standard installation of the rudder mount. I'll talk a little bit now about how the rudder mount works. The rudder itself has eyes on it just like these eyes. And so this rudder pin threads through the eyes on the rudder and the eyes on the rudder mount, lacing them all together so that that combination of eyes and a pin acts like a hinge so the rudder can swing. Here's the rudder without the blade. You see it has 3 eyes on it. The bottom 2 eyes go between the eyes on the rudder mount. See that? We don't want to interlace them. We don't want to alternate them. That would be bad. It would fall apart. We want the bottom two eyes on the rudder to fit between the eyes of the rudder mount, and then that top eye is up there in the air all by itself. All right, I'm going to put the pin in. There we go. So you can see that now it's all hinged together. That pin is going through the top eye on the rudder, then the top eye on the rudder mount, then the middle eye on the rudder, then the bottom eye on the rudder, and then the bottom eye on the rudder mount. These two eyes are part of the rudder. The one above and the one at the very bottom are part of the rudder mount. And this one up top is all by itself, just keeping the pin straight. There we go. So that ends the story in terms of a standard installation. Now, if you've got a Mariner 3 or a Mariner 4, shut off the video, you're done. If you have a Marine Pro or some other boat that does not have a stern handle, so you're having to use this top piece, I want to talk to you about an option that you could do. Some people want to get rid of this top piece so that they got one less piece of metal encumbering the boat, one less piece of metal to assemble when they're putting the boat together, and so on. And you certainly can get rid of this top piece. I'm going to tell you what to do. You go on Amazon and you order a PVC D-ring patch. Stainless steel D-ring that is joined to a circular piece of PVC fabric, just like the skin of your boat. And then you also order from Amazon this two-part epoxy glue called G-Flex. And this is the thickened version of G-Flex, which is a little less runny and therefore neater and has more body to it. I recommend the thickened version. G-Flex epoxy. And it is more flexible than standard epoxy, and it adheres well to PVC. So what you're going to do is glue this D-ring patch to the outside of your boat, at the rear, at the middle, way down low on the back of your boat on the outside, so that it will be right below that vertical piece of the rudder mount, and you can strap that bottom hole of the rudder mount to this D-ring, and that will hold the rudder mount vertical, and you can get rid of that top piece. Here's how you glue it on using the G-Flex epoxy. Take some 80 grit sandpaper and rough up the surface of the patch. Take some alcohol and a white paper towel and clean the patch with the paper towel soaked in alcohol. Take a ballpoint pen, put this against the boat, deflated boat obviously, right where it's going to go, and trace a circle being the outline of the patch where it will be. Then do the same thing to the boat. Rough it up just a little bit with 80 grit sandpaper, clean it with the paper towel soaked in rubbing alcohol. Now you take your two-part epoxy and you squeeze out equal amounts of the two parts. You can squeeze it out right on the D-ring patch, or you could squeeze it out on a piece of scrap cardboard, or maybe the lid from a quart yogurt container. and mix it up with something that you don't care about that you can throw away, like a piece of scrap wood or maybe a great big common nail that would enable you to spread it around. And also put mixed up epoxy onto the boat inside that circle you drew. So you've coated both surfaces now with epoxy where you've mixed equal parts of these two together before you spread it around. And you can do that right on the D-ring patch. Now there's no rush. You have 45 minutes to put this together inside the circle on your boat. And the boat should be laying flat on the floor. You put the D-ring patch on top, lots of glue in there, and then you rub it down with your fingers. You might want to put disposable, like surgical gloves on for this whole operation before you open the glue. And then you put some weights on here to maintain contact while the epoxy cures. It's going to take a few hours, depends on temperature, but up to 4 hours for it to set. And you should revisit it from time to time while it's curing to make sure that it hasn't curled up, peeled away. You know, rub it down again if it has, get good contact, and put the weights on there to hold it. And once that epoxy sets, it is so strong, and you can then get rid of that top piece of the rudder mount and strap your rudder mount vertical piece down to your new D-ring on the rear of your boat. And you'll have 3 more D-rings and some extra epoxy. You might glue these on elsewhere on your boat for whatever purpose, to have some place to anchor things. So that's the whole story about the SailboatsToGo rudder mount. And if you have any questions, email me, jim@SailboatsToGo.com, or telephone me. I'm on the Eastern Time Zone, 1-888-JOY-SAIL, S-A-I-L for the sail. Bye.